Hey, what's up everybody? It's Sean from Sean's Drum Lesson. In this video, we are going to talk about your groove and maybe why it's not grooving so much. So here we go, let's get into it. There's so many different ways we can work on our groove, and we're going to talk about a few of them in this video, but really what we're going to do is talk about one major one, which is rhythmic accuracy. So a large part of this video today is going to be about really understanding rhythm better, and then we're going to talk about a few other aspects or things you can think about that will make your groove sound better. So rhythmic accuracy is one of the most important ways to make your groove sound better, and I think one of the main reasons why some people's groove don't sound the way they want it to sound is because they've never really broken down their rhythms to where they're really thinking about one note at a time, two notes at a time, three notes at a time, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to talk about that rhythmic breakdown today in this video with 16th notes. The 16th note is a great one to start out with because you're really getting obviously the 16th note, but you're getting the 8th note and the quarter note within the 16th note. So we're going to talk about breaking that down, starting with one note at a time, then two notes at a time, then three notes at a time, and then adding all the notes back in there to create the full 16th note in each beat. So first we're going to do it just on the snare drum, where we isolate each note by itself, and then in a little bit we'll talk about how to apply that to a drum set beat. So here we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play what I just played on my bass drum, and I'm going to add eighth notes on the hi-hat while I add like a backbeat feel on 2 and 4 on the snare drum. So it looks something like this. So when you're doing these two exercises, it's really important that you start slow and that you use a metronome. When you use the metronome, I highly recommend you put on the 16th note subdivision. That way you can hear every single note of the 16th note and really place the rhythms that you're playing on either the snare drum, or if you do it in a drum set way on the bass drum, you're linking that up with the 16th note sound in the metronome. If you've never done this exercise before, you're going to be surprised at how quickly your rhythm and feel of the 16th note is going to improve. Whenever we play beats, a lot of times our bass drum is the limb that's moving around the most, and a lot of times it'll be playing your 8th note or 16th note rhythms. So to be rhythmically accurate in the bass drum is so important to having a really good groove sound. Other than playing this exercise with a metronome, it's really important that you add this to your practice routine. I've been doing this exercise for years, and I still feel like if I don't do this every few days or a few weeks or so, I can really start to feel my bass drum playing slip. So I always come back to this exercise again every few days just to make sure that I'm playing my bass drum rhythms in an accurate spot, but also making sure my hands are accurate as well. Other than rhythmic accuracy, a big part of a groove sounding good, I think, is dynamics. So a lot of times the typical hi-hat pattern might be an accented note and a non-accented note. So that's one way that dynamics can be added into your groove. Or say your backbeat. A lot of times your backbeat needs to be nice and strong while your ghost notes are really low. So I think the contrast between a strong backbeat and really small ghost notes will make your groove sound so much better too. Other than being rhythmically accurate and adding dynamics to your groove, I think another really important way to get your groove better is just listen to a lot of grooves. Be a human musical encyclopedia. Probably every professional musician you've ever heard play a groove that sounds good, it's probably because they've had thousands of hours of listening. You have to mentally absorb any music that you really want to be great at. I think that's a huge part of sounding good is you got to be able to hear exactly what you're trying to play. One of the first rules I've ever heard in music is if you can say it, you can play it. So a lot of times if you can hear the groove the right way, you can play the groove the right way. So if you apply all those things I talked about today in the video, it'll make your groove sound so much better. These are things I'm still working on too. I don't think you can ever fully master grooves, but we can get super close. So I think those 3 things that we talked about today, being rhythmically accurate, being dynamic, and just really being an encyclopedia will help you play your grooves so much better. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you can hit that like and subscribe button, that would be awesome. There's going to be much more videos on the way. Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you next time.